What's going on, everyone? Tony Ivanov here, and today was once again another very awesome day on the stock market. Hopefully you all profited very nicely on the hottest stocks of today. So if you have been watching the market at all, you know that recently we've been in this kind of this crazy bubble that has to do with cannabis and marijuana. Last few weeks we had TLRY go to $300, CRON, CGC, all do these crazy moves. Those died out, and then all of the volume and trading switched over to the cannabis infused drink market. So that is IGC and NBEV. So IGC has been running for the past 5 days in a row now. This is up a ton, hitting highs in after hours today of almost 1275, just a massive short squeeze. And we got the same thing here on NBEV. This one hit a high of 1025 after hours. So I mean, they're both very awesome moves. And IGC, I did almost all of my trading in the afternoon. I did do one trade. Let me just get this over here 1 second. I did do one trade here in the morning. I bought 300 shares at 777, looking at this breakout over pre-market highs of here, let me just zoom in here so you guys can see. I did this little breakout move here. Once it was able to recover on top of VWAP, it looked like it was gonna squeeze, so I made a plan and I got in using very small size because it was still pre-market. It was still early in the day, and it's the first day of the month. And what I usually do on the first day of the month is essentially reset all of my trading accounts back down to just over the PDT roll. Meaning here on today, I had my accounts size at $26,000. So that gives me wiggle room of $1,000 to move around and take losses. And because it was the beginning of the month and because I didn't have that big of a cushion, I didn't really want to trade too aggressively quite yet. I wanted to build that cushion first. And then once I have a nice profit on the day and on the month, then I can be, a lot more aggressive and do lots more scalping and a lot more trades overall. So this was my beginning trade, IGC, just a quick little pre-market trade from 777 to 835. Nice $0.50 per share there, 150 bucks. Very nice. And I didn't trade IGC all the way until the afternoon because it was just being very finicky, and it looked like it had lots of resistance here on this line, the $8.50 area. So I didn't really want to touch it. And I was just waiting until we had a nice pullback that would trap shorts. Now, I've talked about this many times in the past. You can look at all my past videos. Mainly my past 2 or 3 videos have been really focusing on how to capture short squeezes. But essentially, if we just look back at the IGC chart, let me just zoom in this real fast. IGC, it never really retested the high of day, or the previous high of day, and that's what causes these massive short squeezes. So we can see on Friday, the high of day was 750. Okay. This pre-market, we broke through that level. We hit a high of 850, and then overall it started to fall back down, and look where it bounced off of. Previous resistance becomes support. There is no reason why you guys need to complicate this any further. Buy where you find resistance, sell where you find, or no, sorry, buy where you see support, sell where you see resistance. It's as easy as that. The only thing you really need to do is just practice on identifying these levels of support and resistance. And I do have some tips for that. So I'm just going to break down how to find levels of support and resistance very easily. And it essentially comes down to 3 main things. So there's 3 different types of support and resistance levels. There is natural round numbers like whole dollars, half dollars, and the $0.25 marks, meaning $1, $1.25, $1.50, $1.75, $2, $5, $10, and so forth. These round psychological numbers are very important when it comes to trading because lots of people trade based on emotions, and they like to leave their orders around these whole dollar figures. I mean, one example is that like when a tiny penny stock runs from 99 cents to $1, yes, it only moved 1 cent. However, that 1 cent it moved was a very big move, because now it's no longer a penny stock. Now it's worth $1. It's moved into a whole nother price range, and that causes a big psychological shift for traders. The same thing happens at $5, $10, $15, and so forth. So focus on these whole dollar numbers. And number two, one of the most important types of support and resistance is chart level support and resistance. And this is what I was using, essentially all the time. One easy way to find levels of support and resistance on a chart is to switch over from a candlestick chart over to a line chart. Now, it's very good to use line charts when you're looking at the big picture, because now you can obviously see where the price had resistance and where the price had support. So using this, you can see levels of support and resistance very easily. I mean, whenever you see a big spike and the price hits a top, mark that out. Draw a horizontal line, because that is a level of resistance. When you see a stock have a pullback, that is support. So now we know, okay, resistance is 750, support is 520s. We get this big breakout, hits 850, pulls back. Look where it pulls back. Holds 750 in the entire time, but at the same time, it was doing that under VWAP, which traps shorts. Because lots of short sellers like to use the VWAP line as a very important level of resistance, meaning whenever you have a huge spike and it starts to fade and use VWAP as resistance, that's where they add in their size, and that's where they add in their massive short positions. And this whole time it was looking like, okay, it's gonna crack, but nope, it held 750 and started to uptrend. And this is where I've all under this VWAP area in between the 90 cent and the 77.5 cent area, using 750 as my risk. Now, of course, if I was a perfect trader, I would have been buying shares all up here at the $0.50 mark. But I mean, to be honest, I was freaking scared of IGC. It had such a crazy parabolic move, and it looked like it was going to tank at any second. But once I saw it recover, I recognized my plan and my strategy, so I attacked. And that's exactly where I bought IGC here. So all in this 87, 91 cent area. And then took some off here at the quarter-cent mark, added back in, and then right here is where I was aggressively loading up a position, expecting a breakout over 850. We got the breakout over 850, and I was just being super aggressive because you could see the volume on level 2 was so primed to have a breakout. I hit resistance here in this 930 cent area. It pulls back and does what almost looks like a head and shoulders. So then it traps shorts even more. I recognized that it was trapping shorts, added back in some long shares, and then I sold it into the strength. So just overall, the same patterns repeat. Here is a nice gradual descending wedge pattern that we recognized in the chat room. Here it is. I posted it in the chat, and that's where I was adding in a ton more shares over here in the 970 area and taking profits above $10. And then we also had some crazy moves on IGC or NBEV, and this one also was trapping shorts right here after hours. It had a huge head and shoulders pattern form right here. Let me just draw this out real quick before the video ends. Here's a head and shoulders, right? And I said in my chat room, okay, we have a big head and shoulders pattern here on NBEV. If it makes a higher low, it's going to trap shorts. If the last bounce does a higher low, it is a potential short trap. This was NBEV right here. And you can see we had that higher low, broke over $9, and then it became bullish once it crossed over the moving average. And that's where I was adding in my size, expecting a squeeze up. And we hit a high of 950. I took some off there. Let me get my chart up for NBEV. So you can see right here, once it was breaking over the 930s, now I believe this one was like a small win because I had a bad entry, but eventually I had a very nice trade here at an average of 939 on the break over 950, and I sold into the strength near 980s. So overall, it is all just about recognizing strength, recognizing your levels of support and resistance. You can see right here, NBEV, a very obvious level of support and resistance was this 875 level, because if we switch over to a line chart, you can see that on this big rally, it stopped out right here at 875, which was 1, a nice mental round number, and 2, it was chart resistance. We broke out over that, and then we reclaimed that level eventually, so previous resistance becomes support. You can buy off that level, and then you can take those nice $50 profits, and you can see once again, once it pulled back, it held above that level the entire time. So the key thing with short squeezes is that your previous resistance needs to hold as support. In other words, the very large areas that look like resistance and support, it needs to break up and out of it, and then when it comes back down to bounce, it needs to stay over it. That traps shorts, because then everyone who was using Hive Day as risk and they didn't use the rules and they didn't leave the trade, now when it comes back and bounces, it's still too high and they cannot exit their trade without taking a loss. And then what happens is that lots of people get emotional and they don't want to cut the loss when it looks like it could go back down just a tiny bit more, and then boom, they get trapped and it squeezes up higher, and then higher and higher it goes. They can no longer handle the pressure, and then they finally buy up when it's $1 per share, and it squeezes out more shorts. So the key thing with short squeezes, guys, is that previous levels of resistance cannot be retested. You can see that happen here on NBEV, and it happened on IGC. All right, so if you want a more in-depth explanation of all this stuff, I have plenty of videos exclusively available only to TradeBuddy members. It's also a chat room with around 13 different channels. I am in there every single day, all throughout market open, giving out my plans and my charts, giving you guys my levels of support and resistance. And there's over 150 other traders in there as well, who are giving out their plans, their alerts, and their feedback, and overall just helping each other become better traders. So I highly recommend you check it out. Link is down below. I have a free ebook on how to day trade. I have a course on how to day trade. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter at Tony Ivanov, mainly because you will have my tweets there every single day, letting everyone know what stocks to watch. You can see here 13 hours ago, I was telling everyone to watch IGC, NBEV, and OGN. Alright guys, so thank you all so much for sticking by and watching this video. Once again, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this free video lesson, hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell as well to be notified on every future video. And leave a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.